Don't let those Rotten Tomatoes scores get you down, because Next Goal Wins is actually a pretty charming film. So, Next Goal Wins is a story about a coach who's kind of kicked to the curb and kind of given one last shot where he's got to go to American Samoa and coach their national soccer team, which has been historically bad. And it's up to him to kind of turn this team around and get them into the World Cup qualifiers of the soccer world. And you have your movie. So it's kind of fish out of water slash self-discovery of the coach slash, kind of helping improve these players and becoming, better athletes, I guess, to an extent, even though it was also more about the coach learning about a different culture and what a sport means in different places around the world. And it was, pretty charming. Look, I heard a lot of mixed things going into this movie. And you always try to want to clear a lot of that out of your head when you go into a film, because it's up to you what you think about the movie. And I went in being like, look, I've heard some iffy things, but I'm going to go in and try to enjoy this. And gosh darn it, if I didn't have a pretty good time watching this movie. I was smiling from the beginning of the film. I'm not going to lie, I am charmed by Taika Waititi and his films. Big fan of his stuff. As you can see, I got Hunt for the Wilder People there. I got some of his other stuff over my shoulder here. I think he's a great director, great writer, funny actor, great actor. He's definitely one of the greatest strengths of this film, but he's also one of the biggest weaknesses of this film, and we'll get to that in a minute. I do think this is a flawed film, but I still had such a good time. I don't get what a lot of the flack this film's getting. I don't know. I get it's not perfect, and when it's not perfect, people usually like to hate on it a little extra, which you shouldn't. This is such a charming film, and it's led here. The cast is led by Michael Fassbender, who's one of my favorite actors. And he gives a pretty decent performance in this. The big problem with his character, who is Thomas Rongen, not familiar with the real life person, but inspired by a true story, this whole thing. And they make sure from the beginning of the movie to tell you, inspired by a true story. And even Taika Waititi comes on screen as a priest to tell you, there's some embellishment here. So go in knowing that there's some stuff here and there that they tweaked for the sake of making an entertaining film. As is almost every adaptation you're going to go see. But look, the thing with Fassbender is, as great of an actor as he is, I do think there was a little bit of, not a miscast perhaps, but I think the way they kind of wrote this version of this real life person, it didn't hit all the way as it could have. Look, the most charming aspect of this film is the American Samoan characters in this film, mainly Oscar Kightley, who plays Tavita, who's like the head of the American Samoa Soccer Federation or Football Federation, and he is just, every line of dialogue is pretty great. He's one of my favorite performances of the year. Every time he pops up on screen, you just got a big smile on his face. I mean, there's a couple moments where he's got some moments of levity, but for the most part, he is not comedic relief, because he's just always funny, so it's not relief from anything. He's just always kind of got jokes, and it's great. And it's got a little heart to it, too, so I dug that quite a bit. He definitely made this film, I think, worth the viewing alone if you get a chance to go see this. I know it's a smaller film. Not a lot of people are probably going to go see it. It's probably not going to make a lot of money at the box office, but I implore you to give it a try. His character was pretty consistent, very well written, which is why it bothers me a little bit that Michael Fassbender's character seemed underdeveloped. I don't know, it did feel like there were stuff or scenes cut from the movie. There's one point where it felt like Tavita's about to say something, and they kind of cut. And it was a really weird cut, very weird decision in that moment where you felt like he was about to either deliver a joke or have something to say on a situation that was happening, and it just kind of abruptly ended. It was really weird. But I think that the heart of this movie are the Samoan people, American Samoan people. There is a difference, and they make sure to say that in the film. And I didn't know that, so I learned something. But I just feel like Fassbender is such a great actor, and this role, while he fit it, it was weird that how you could feel the Taika sensibilities in his character with some of the quirkiness that kind of added to his character, which just didn't jive. And then at times he seemed to finally come around, and we get the typical sports montage at one point, but he seemed to kind of come around to the idea of his lot of falling from grace, being put in this situation to coach this terrible team, and he seemed to have rectified that, come to terms with it, and you're like, all right, like maybe a little too quick in terms of just going from mode A to mode B, and it worked a little bit. I was like, all right, maybe a little rushed. We're good though. But then it does a turn back. It like takes like 5 steps back to where he's like berating these players for their performance in a game, and you're like, 2 minutes ago you were like all about like we're a team, we're family, and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden they're idiots again. It felt weird. Didn't feel natural. It just felt forced. Like we needed to have that conflict at a couple of points, and that's where it didn't work. Like up till about the third act, I felt like it mainly worked, and the third act's still fun. It's got its moments, and I do like how they kind of tell the story of the game that they eventually play in for this qualifier to the World Cup, and it was, it felt like a couple of missed opportunities. Like I don't know if it was a script issue, like editing, where they just made some questionable decisions, but I don't know. I still think, look, this is well worth your time. I don't think people will be as nitpicky as me, so I bet you'll go into this, or most people will go into this and thoroughly enjoy themselves and thoroughly enjoy the comedy and the performances in this. And I've heard it wasn't as funny as a lot of Taika's other stuff, and I'll give you that. It's definitely less funny than a lot of his other stuff, but I just feel like the jokes land more. Like they got a higher hit rate than like even Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder, which kind of had a few jokes here and there, which kind of just didn't land. I feel like here they landed all the jokes, and they just didn't land on some of the balancing of some of the levity, or going to places where I feel like they could have developed characters a little more. They kind of just rushed through some stuff because it's a sports movie, so you expect to have the montage to solve all the problems with coaching a team, and in that 5-minute montage, all those character development things are just solved. And that's my big problem with like sports movies, and they do it here a little bit, but I still had fun. It was still good. At the end of the day, I'm giving this film a solid B. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would thoroughly recommend it, and I hope people go out to the theaters to see this. So yeah, what do you guys think? Have you heard of Next Goal Wins? Do you plan on going to see Next Goal Wins? And are you familiar with Taika Waititi? How do you feel about his body of work? He's one of my favorite directors. I just realized I forgot one of his movies to put up here, Jojo Rabbit, which is also very good. You should check that out. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like, subscribe if you could, hit the little bell notification. And again, yeah, leave your comments down below. I'm very curious what other people think of this film if you get a chance to see it. And yeah, guys, until the next review, I'll be seeing you.